All right, Neil, since we're going to be talking about Agatha all along, I want to
Uh-huh.
say that I knew all along what was going to happen.
Did
I'm
you?
No, you
kidding.
didn't.
I didn't.
Shut up,
I was
Jose.
just reacting to Neil when he's like, "Oh, I saw this episode. I knew the whole time what was going to happen."
And cue the
Oh.
music. Hi, and welcome to a spoiler special episode of the We Need Roads podcast, where, as we've always told you, we needed roads, because in this episode, we are walking the Witch's Road, as we try and console Marie after the end of Agatha All Along. We talk hot rabbis and poor podcast mic placement in Netflix's hit rom-com Nobody Wants This, and in a perfect segue, we're going to be talking Venom, The Last Dance. Right, so first up, we are walking the Witch's Road, and yes, we've all been enjoying the show and messaging each other after every episode. But first of all, because I know Marie's opinion on this, but you've literally just finished it, Jose, as we record this. Did it stick the landing?
Oh, it stuck the landing. So good.
Don't
So
make it
good.
dirty, Jose. You made that dirty.
And in the words of Marie, it's very gay.
Is that all you have to
There-
say about it? It stuck the
Oh,
landing and
I'm
it's very
I'm
gay.
I'm trying to keep it short, not trail off.
Trail mix. Okay. So I guess we go to you then, Marie. Marie, what did you think of the ending?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it really did bring everything together, and I loved it so much that as soon as it finished, I started the season back again and went through it again and saw like all the little like things we've missed. And honestly, this show is better on the second viewing because you watch it in such a you watch it in a different context, and it's just I've got now like an entire like essay on all the Easter eggs and all the clues that I spotted on my second viewing. Once again, I am the girl who cried Mephisto. I don't know why they name dropped that in episode 3, and it just didn't flow out. One day I'm gonna get my Mephisto. Why would they name drop? Oh, I think they teased us because like when WandaVision was going out, everyone was just like, it's Mephisto's responsible for this. And now this time they were doing the same thing. Although I never thought he was responsible, but I thought,
I think it's a running joke, isn't it? Every MCU shoot. Is it Mephisto? Is it Mephisto?
everything that's slightly magical or slightly like linking to death. And yes, I was spoiled by Funko, so that was nice.
God damn you, Funko Pops. Did you hear about this, Jose?
No, what did Funko do?
I knew that Aubrey Plaza was playing Death because
Oh.
Funko released like had a leak and released the Death Funko Pop like I think right when episode 2 came out.
Oh,
So I
wow.
saw
Those
that on
dicks.
Twitter and along with nearly everyone else, and it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I gotta admit though, that's if no one cosplays as Death, as Aubrey Plaza's Death, I'll be shocked because
Oh,
that was such a cool look.
everyone. I mean,
That
she's
is,
already on my
yeah,
list. Like I'm like
hmm
fully expecting to do all of her looks. Like I'm already like
yeah.
Googling how to turn the bottom half of my face into a skull. Like next spooky special.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be awesome. I feel like it's a mixture of just good paint and maybe just a little bit of paper mache on the nose.
Yeah, no, there's prosthetics like the teeth and everything, but it's all practical, which
Yeah.
once really appreciated. And the majority of Agatha is practical. I've been watching like the behind the scenes and also
Oh,
going into the costumes. Like the costumes are phenomenal. My favorite
yes.
has to be Billy's because there's so many like Easter eggs within his costume, which is so cool. The one that immediately stood out to me was the X-Men symbol on his elbow. Like I was just like, oh,
Where was that?
his final Wiccan look that he wears in the second last in the penultimate episode. Like when you see the photos, detailed photos of the costume, there's like Wanda's crown, there's the X-Men symbol, there's like references to Vision in there. Like the detail is just so interesting. And like I know like the costume designer wanted to show like where he came from and like put like both his parents but like to quote Agatha, Robo Daddy in there as well. So there's
Mm.
like a lot of like digital patterns referring to Vision, but then on his sleeves there's like a whole bunch of symbols, and one of them is like the original X-Men symbol, the X and the circle, and I was just like,
I miss
interesting.
that. I mean, yeah, so we now know death is real in the MCU, and she's Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, you were
And
so
here's the
close when
question.
you were guessing who she was. I was just like, oh,
When we did our previous one, Jose, when we done like the first, I think 5 or 6 episodes, I was like,
Oh,
I reckon
wow.
she could be a ghost or she's dead or something.
like you almost
Here-
said deaf, and I was just like, oh no.
Well, here's the fun fact. In the comic books,
Thanos.
Deadpool,
Oh no.
Deadpool and Thanos,
Yeah.
they have a love triangle with Death.
Yeah,
I think Aubrey Plaza, is it Aubrey or Audrey now? Shit.
Aubrey.
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 Always.
I think, uh, always Aubrey. I think Aubrey Plaza has a fun future for her in the Marvel
She
Cinematic
can write her
Universe
own
now.
check, man. She can write her own
Oh
check.
yeah, this
She
is
Yeah.
going to
probably
be
worked.
interesting.
She probably worked on this show for like about 2 weeks, like in terms of screen time and like time it took it, and she suddenly created this iconic character that absolutely everyone wants back in more stuff now.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
And back to the Mephisto, I feel like Marvel at this point, they're never gonna let us know exactly when Mephisto's coming. I think it's just gonna be like
No, I can
we're
tell you when he's
watching
going to come.
something and boom. I think it's gonna be just like a
I'll tell
surprise.
you in a little while when Mephisto's going to come in because I have notes, which you can't see, but I have notes.
Ah,
So yeah, we had our hashtag "It's too gay" moment, except it wasn't too gay. It was for Marie.
it's
It
okay.
was Agatha and Rio with a literal kiss of death. Like
Nice.
so well done, so well done. Just
Yeah, kind of leaning into kill your gays territory, but because she comes back as a ghost and she's literal death, I will forgive the show for
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
and she brought her flowers.
Yes. And with that, actually, Catherine Hahn has two firsts in the entire MCU, and I was wondering if you guys could guess it.
Well, one's surely the first lesbian kiss on screen, right?
Yeah.
And is she the first ghost?
Nope.
No.
I mean, maybe, but that's not the one that I'm referring to.
Appearing in two Marvel series separately.
No.
No.
Am I close? I saw the reaction.
No.
No.
This is very niche.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kind of actually
oh man.
throwback to what I was talking about in Rivals.
First new
Oh,
team.
no.
Yes, first woman to show her ass on the
Yeah.
MCU.
Really? Oh wow. I forgot about that. That was the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like walking around naked.
It's funny. He didn't give no fucks. That's funny.
So I got one prediction right because I predicted Agatha would die. Of course, I didn't know any of the comic book lore before this, and because she is dead, she died an episode before the end, which I thought was a big swing. I loved that. I was like, wait, but because remember, I messaged you when I was watching the finale because you were a couple of hours ahead of me, and I was like, because that's when I'd gone to see Heretic that night, and Heretic can't say the word.
Heretic.
Spooky Hugh Grant film. I went to see that, and
That's
Marie,
staying in.
and as I got out, like Marie would literally message me going, "Oh God, I'm just in it. It's finished. Is there one more?" And I was like, and then when I got in, I started watching it, and I was like 2 hours behind. I was like, "Wait, there's one more to go." I said, "I've just met Ghost Agatha."
Yeah, that was.
I was like, "What's the last
I was.
episode going to be then?" And I did not expect it to be the flashback to her really emotional story of her and her son.
Yeah.
That was actually, yeah, that hit me harder than I was expecting. I didn't cry, but I wanted to cry.
She cry on the inside, Jose.
Yeah. No, that was honestly such a good episode. I didn't know where it would go, and then I'm like, oh, she has a son, and oh, she wants to hold on to him longer. And then I was like, they created the song, and then
Yeah.
as it was just coming again, I was like, oh, it's like it just added more revelations, and I was just like,
Well, when you
boom,
learn that her
mind
son
blown.
was never supposed to live, and that she bargained for more time for him in the first place, so he was always on borrowed time. And you know, like you say,
Yeah.
how her and Nicholas they created the Witches Road, but it ends up becoming this way for Agatha to just kill lots of witches. So I kind of thought Maria will probably know much more about this than us, but that was kind of her bargain, right? Wasn't it? With Rio, it was like I'm going to kill lots of witches and then give you loads of bodies, and if you keep giving me more time, was that? That's the way I interpreted it
No,
slightly. No,
I mean, she
no.
was killing witches already before
yeah,
it.
that's true.
Because I did look this up because the Salem witch trials were 1693, where she was hunted down and she killed her coven, and then her mom caught up to her, and then she killed her mom's coven and her. And then Nicholas was born in 1750. So she was already quite evil at that time and killing witches. So yeah, it wasn't a bargain. And
Okay.
maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's actually very unclear of when she actually got the dark hold. But this is what
Yeah.
I liked about it, that Nicholas had nothing to do with this. This was like genuinely just she wanted a child. She wanted to become a mother. The line, I think a lot of people got teary-eyed when she was just like, I cast no spell, I made you from
From
scratch.
scratch.
It was such a beautiful moment and such a beautiful line. So there is still an air of mystery
Well, on that,
to her.
yeah, because one of the big questions when I was like Googling, people was like, well, who is the father? Did Agatha literally just create him herself? And I thought, did she? Because then that's a really good parallel storyline to what Wanda did by creating Billy and Tommy out of nothing, right?
So
Hmm.
Catherine Hahn actually confirmed that witches don't need a man to have a child.
Well, there you go
Oh
So
then.
wow.
that element, I think there is like Rio did have something to do with it.
Because that's one of the other theories is Rio the dad in some
Is
way.
the second parent. Yes,
Yeah.
because there is this moment in the final episode where Nicholas is performing the song in the tavern, and then he leaves and says, "My mother needs me at home." But he always calls Agatha Mama. So he might be actually referring to Rio. He might be because he might call Rio mother and Agatha Mama.
Ah. I did not spot
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, well, I think he knew his time was up. Like that's how I interpret that.
Right, for me, so where does Agatha all along rank on your top three Marvel TV shows? And to make it easier, I am saying just since Disney Plus launched, so from WandaVision onwards. Jose.
Um,
Oh my goodness.
Okay, Marie.
Oh,
I think it's number one for me.
I thought it
I
might be.
I
hmm.
like, and not just because it's gay, but of course I really appreciate the fact that it's gay. But I what I love about a show and about a story is effort and attention to detail, and they really did that here. I also like when it's like a concise story and it's all like it comes together in an end. Um, and looking back and like going through the script afterwards, you just see how well they thought this through, and it's just also, I really appreciate when writers do not treat the audience as stupid and spell everything out.
Yes,
Like there
yes,
was
yes.
the like aha moments, but when you go back, were like so many different like clues that you could like pick it together, but also not obvious in your face. Um, and and I think it's so high for me as well because to be honest, wasn't that excited for this show to begin with.
I don't think
Like I
anyone
only
really
checked
was.
it out because I had someone visiting and like we needed something to watch and we always watched Marvel shows together. So I thought, okay, let's do this. And then like the first two episodes were really like like they were really good and hooked me in. So yeah, and I think above everything else, like WandaVision is still again solid writing. Um,
So, so Agatha number one, WandaVision number two, number three.
three, I think this might be a controversial, but three would be Moon Knight for me. I
No, no.
Nope,
really
that's a
enjoyed
solid
Moon
one.
Knight.
That's a
Moon Knight's
solid
got its
one.
fans. It's so out there compared to
I
Yeah,
feel
and
like
I
people
love
forget
Oscar
Moon
Isaac, and
Knight. Oh,
I really enjoyed Moon Knight. Oh,
it's just a shame that doesn't seem to be going anywhere, does it? Sadly.
ah,
Well,
maybe.
okay. Well,
I don't know.
Jose, your top three Marvel TV shows after
Okay,
Agatha.
looking back, I'm looking at the list of shows, and it's tough because
You should know. You should just know, Jose. What's number one?
Agatha. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna say Loki's number one just because of the
oh
fact that there's
fuck!
two
I forgot
seasons.
about Loki.
Yes,
Loki number three?
because I
No,
knew it was
Loki
like,
number
okay,
two. But then
Ooh.
again, Miss Marvel as well. Like
oh, you liked Miss Marvel a lot?
I
I
really
like
enjoyed
Mark.
Miss Marvel. I
Yeah.
thought again it got crucified for no good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
I didn't get what too far into it. I got a couple episodes and that was about it. And not because I didn't like it, just because I just was all over the place at
Go
the
back
time.
to it, Jose. Go back.
So I feel like Loki, it's a little bit of a bias because there's two seasons that are really great, and the ending was just
The ending
phenomenal.
was movie level
Um,
good, wasn't it, for
Hmm.
Loki?
yes, and then I'd say Agatha along is it's a tie with WandaVision. I think if you kind of put it all together, I would say those two combined would be
Okay.
a
A
big number two, and
melange.
then a melange, yeah, and then Moon Knight. Honestly, Moon Knight is one of my favorites.
Okay, so we're all
Oscar
doing
Isaac.
four then. We're all doing four. Fine. Okay. So for me, number one, I'm still going to go WandaVision because
Ah,
I feel that even rewatching it, I obviously I've only watched Agatha once. I actually bought WandaVision on like this lovely 4K set, and I've rewatched it again recently. And again, it
nice.
just breaks you on that last episode. Like no Marvel
Yep.
TV show has had that effect on me. Uh,
Yeah.
and as we mentioned before, like I just that's why as much as I love Multiverse of Madness, I don't get how the character change happens so swift in that from this show to that. You know, you
But
spend
really,
10
I thought it
episodes.
was a good transition
I just feel
because
like
she
they
gave
kind
up
of
everything.
she
She
did,
gave
but
up everything and she still got nothing in the end. So,
Mm.
like, I would understand why she's like sick of playing by everyone's rules.
I just feel like there was a gap
Wow.
in where we left her from suddenly she's the baddie in Multiverse. I kind of I didn't want her to be the baddie because you emphasize with her so much after what she's gone through because you've watched that many episodes of the show, and then it's just like
Hmm.
and now she's a baddie because of this. I was like, that's kind of what she went through in the show though, but in much more detail, and we understood and we cared why. Whereas in the movie, it's just like, yeah, she wants her kids back. This is how she does it, and baddie. I mean, it just
Yeah.
felt very
Yeah.
basic, and it's a movie, so it has to be.
It felt rushed.
It
It
felt
felt
rushed.
rushed.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
she was still amazing in it and like so good.
Yeah.
But okay,
Also,
so
now puts
yes,
the whole thing into context to realize that her one of her children was literally down the street from her.
right. So yeah, I've got WandaVision number one. I got Loki number two because again, I really like season one. I didn't think season two was as good, but then the it pulled out of probably one of the best last episodes of any of the shows. And yeah, I've got Agatha at number three. I wasn't as overall sold on it, but it came together beautifully at the end. I loved loved the first two episodes. I thought it sagged in the middle a little bit, but then when we got the Billy reveal and the crown, I was back into it from there. I think the two kind of repetitive episodes where they just went and did a trial, and the same kind of
Yeah.
thing happened both episodes.
You
Again,
say that now, but like
I say
going
that
back to
now.
it, you like looking at the dialogue, there is like so much good writing there happening,
Mhm.
and happening. I've got like a whole essay, I think, on episode four, like all the
Ooh,
references.
nice. Yeah.
And as we did a fourth, my fourth is not going to be Moon Knight, just to be different. I'm going to say Hawkeye because it was really enjoyable.
Wow.
I
I
And
think
I liked Hawkeye, but I didn't think it was as like solid as some of these other shows.
I
like I
just
think
Like,
like most of like him in the Avengers, I forgot Hawkeye existed.
yeah, as did the Avengers probably. But
mm,
I just thought it was really fun and like it was light and you know the tracksuit mafia were the bad guys. It was
yeah,
yeah,
it was
it was
funny.
fun. It was fun and it was an easy watch. And I think we can all agree the worst Marvel TV show ever made is Jose.
Secret Invasion?
Yes, Marie.
I mean, I haven't even watched Secret Invasion, so
It's Secret Invasion.
Yes.
It's trash. It's so
yeah,
bad
that's why I'm
that
not like.
it's so bad that when you watch the Marvels, you're like, they didn't mention anything that happened in Secret Invasion. Because why would you? Because let's just imagine it didn't happen. So getting back to
Yeah.
Agatha.
Yes.
Also what I like about this is it seemed to actually silence some of the basement dwelling bedwetters because it was a camp, gay, female-centric show. In fact, was there any straight male character in the show? I don't think there was.
I mean, we can say
The neighbor,
Billy's parents,
Oh, the
but other than
parents,
that,
yeah,
no.
yeah. The neighbor, maybe, yeah.
the
That's it.
neighbors.
Oh, Ralph
Yeah.
Boner. That's
Ralph
it.
Boner,
And
yeah.
he's,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I mean,
sadly
but with a
Ralph.
name like that, you never
Yeah,
know.
never know. And
Could have starred in some movies.
so like we say, so it was camp, it was gay, it was female centric, and it also had the lowest budget of any Marvel show around. Apparently, it was around 40 million. And I'm
Wow.
assuming that could be for the whole series, not just per episode, because there's no way it costs
Yeah,
40 million
yeah.
episode. So 40 million for the whole series is pretty good. And yeah, if I'm going to pick minor holes, it felt a little soundstagey at some points, but the cast was so good in it, it proved none of that mattered. None of the spectacle matters when you've got a great cast doing a story that is really, really well written. And as Marie's probably going to tell us from a rewatch, every story beat and decision on the show was planned out perfectly in advance. I actually read an interview with the creator, the showrunner, Jack Schaefer, on Variety, and she said she was a big fan of The Usual Suspects in how the story was constructed, and you can totally see that here. I mean, looking around
Mm.
Billy's room, it's that Kaiser Soze moment of when, you know, Kevin Spacey is there and he's looking at the wall, and that's exactly the scene we got in this show. Have either of you seen The Haunting of Hill House?
I saw the first episode, looked really good.
So Lila's episode is basically an episode of that. There was a character in that show who is slipping through time at different points.
Oh wow.
Except this one's got a really well. I mean, Lila dies, but sorry, Lilia dies, but and in this show, this character dies, but it's the kind. I don't really want to ruin it if you haven't seen it, but it's
Yeah.
probably one of the best kind of things. And you're thinking, well, why did they say that line? Why did they say that line? That didn't make any sense. And then you get to that character's episode, and it's a similar thing where she's seeing time at different points. And I was like, holy shit, they're doing this again here in Agatha. So it's done brilliantly. Although I looked online, everyone was like, that's just that episode of House on Haunted Hill. But maybe
Mm.
not, because in House on Haunted Hill, it is truly devastating at the end when that happens in what happens to their character in that episode. It's like the best episode of the whole series by far. Like
Wow.
that's the thing that put that actress on the map from
I
that
mean, I
show.
was sad when Patty LuPone
Mhm.
That's what I'm talking
fell
about.
on the swords.
Lilia.
I was, yeah. Oh, so you were saying this was truly devastating.
No, not as much as the same story beat in House on Haunted
Gotcha.
Hill.
Okay.
Or Haunting of Hill House, sorry. And one other thing was that in the way and in the comics, apparently it was Ghost, Agatha, and the Scarlet Witch who walked the Witch's Road, not Agatha and Billy. Now I'm up to where it says Mephisto? Question mark.
Too late. We've
Too
all
late. Yeah,
realized.
we moved on. Right. So, yeah, what I was saying about the Jack Schaefer interview, and she said she was kind of, again, on Variety that I read, and she kind of hinted that she's more interested in completing this story than worrying about what's set up with others, because everyone was
Mhm.
asking her, well, you've got the Vision Quest show coming out. The showrunner of Vision Quest is Terry Matalas, who did Picard, Star Trek Picard. And season one was really good, dropped off a little bit towards the end. Season two was a dumpster fire of epic proportions that I didn't even finish watching. And then season three was absolutely amazing because it struck the perfect balance of giving all the classic Next Generation characters their moment, but also bringing in all these new characters that were also not shit and you actually cared about. And then by the end of that show, it was like, right, we can retire these characters now. And also, here's a new crew and a new ship for a new show that we're still waiting for called Star Trek Legacy. Paramount, give us Star Trek Legacy now, you utter bastards. Because also, it's the show that's furthest forward in any of the Star Trek storylines. So it's past everything that's happened in everything else. So I'm
Wow.
quite excited that this guy is doing the Vision Quest show. But in that, he was in that interview, Jack Sherry was saying, I wish him well. I really hope I'm really excited to see what he does, but I haven't really got anything to do with it.
I
was-
like genuinely appreciate that. Like I think that's where like why like more like Marvel is starting to lose focus a bit, where they're like, oh, we need to tie in all these different storylines and stuff like that. And because if you think about like phase one, like all the like first Marvel movies like there were great standalones, and then everything came together for the Avengers,
And it'd just be a post-credit scene, but would be
exactly.
the only
And that's
thing.
what I really appreciate about Agatha. It was extremely contained, but it like it also like made sense. Like it's that balance. Like sometimes it is like, oh, where's like this and this character while this is happening? But it wasn't, because it just sadly the only human it affected was Mrs. Hart. But other than that, it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
very more
R.I.P.
contained to
Kitty.
the witchy world. So it like makes sense. Like like that no other adventurer would like interact with this situation. No one even knows like Billy Maximoff actually exists, so or even of Agatha Harkness. And I appreciated it. That was just like a decent standalone.
And I think they're kind of trying to do this more now. Like even with Deadpool Wolverine, we expected it to be this big reset of the whole MCU, and no, it was a really self-contained, fun story just for them.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I can't even remember the last thing. It was probably, was it the Marvels that tried to tie stuff together? Maybe with its
Are
post
you talking
credits.
about the end credit scene?
Yeah. With
Not really. I mean, the Marvels is just they're Marvels like try to
was
like
that the
hit
last
the
film
X-Men.
though, wasn't it?
What?
Before Deadpool Wolverine, the
It
Marvels
might
was.
be, yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
might
The
be
Marvels tried. They tried to tie in the
the
X-Men.
The Fox Universe stuff, and then
Yeah.
They didn't
Deadpool
actually
Wolf.
try and tie in. I think they're just hinting on the fact that the X-Men are going to be part of the MCU. Like,
Yeah, I
but
think they
also, and
need
then it's an end credit scene. So,
So moving not on because we're still going to talk about Agatha. I got more.
oh, I got way more. We're not
Is
even
there?
done through the essay.
Do we think there is there going to be a season two of Agatha so the story can continue,
Oh, they
or
definitely left it open.
no, no, they left it open. But will there be a second season of Agatha?
No,
Oh, I no.
no.
This is
Right?
its own thing. Although here's a funny thing.
Is it?
I thought to myself, this is Agatha all along when it was really Billy all along. And then WandaVision was actually Agatha all along. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, Wanda did still create the hex, and in a way, it was Billy all along. But if you think about it, Agatha was the one who created the ballot, so it was her all along.
Mm,
You've been defeated,
okay.
Jose. You've been
You've
defeated.
reversed my reverse.
Yeah.
Reverse Uno card.
I wonder, right? So we got Vision Quest coming. We know that's in the works with a really good showrunner. Do we think this is almost going to be like a parallel story with Vision finding his humanity again, realizing that he maybe or and is Tommy going to appear in Vision Quest? So you kind of have Agatha and Billy set up in Agatha, and then Vision Quest sets up sets up Tommy and Vision, and then you get something that leads to Wanda coming back.
I don't think so.
No.
Because if you
I, I mean, that would be an interesting theory, but I don't think. I mean, I know nothing about Vision Quest.
No one does.
well, so here's something that if you've seen the advert on the last episode with Wonder Man coming out, do you guys know what the backstory for Wonder Man is?
I think we're going to talk about the same thing here, Jose. This is my next bit.
Yes. Yes.
Does this lead? So yeah, does the Agatha and the Vision and Tommy and Scarlet Witch and all that? Is this going to lead to either? Because everyone thought, oh, we're going to eventually get to Young Avengers, right?
Mhm.
I think we're going to
Mhm.
head to Midnight Suns first.
I don't know what that is. I think
Well,
we're I think we're going to West Coast Avengers maybe.
no, we're heading to Midnight Suns, I think.
Okay,
And there
please
is
elaborate then.
so Midnight Suns is like the Avengers of the Magic characters, kind of. Is the most basic way to say it.
Okay,
And there
okay.
is a link because obviously the OG Midnight Suns, we're not going to get the same lineup in the MCU because one of them was Morbius, and we don't want Jared Leto in the MCU. He can stay stuck in the Sony purgatory. Fuck you, Jared Leto. Also, in the original lineup, there was two Ghost Riders. There was Johnny Blaze and another one who fans will come for me more for because I don't know his name. But also Blade. Now, with all the problems Marvel's Blade films encountered, why not just intro him in a Midnight Suns film first, maybe? Because they brought Tom Holland's Spider-Man into Civil War first, didn't they? Before he had his own Spider-Man film. So you could kind of test the waters with Blade being in it, maybe. But there is another link to Agatha, a more direct, exact link. Jennifer Kale is canonically Johnny Blaze's cousin.
Hmm.
So you could get her in it. And I was thinking you could like try out the new Blade in it. I'm really just spitballing here. So yeah, you could have Mahershala Ali come into that film. You could have a new Johnny Blaze. You can bring back Jennifer, and also at one point in the Midnight Suns lineup, you had Werewolf by Night and Man Thing from the Werewolf from Night one shot. Have either of you guys seen that?
No,
I
I
did not.
haven't.
Oh,
I
watch
need
Once
it.
to. I
again,
heard
I
it was
forget
good.
that exists.
It's so good because it's kind of like almost like a classic horror film in the setup and that. And
And
then
they
it's
did a
got
black and white version, didn't they?
yeah, but it's really good. And both of those characters in it are in a Midnight Suns lineup. So they've kind of introduced those now. And also the main actress in it, Elsa Bloodstone, great name. You could bring her into it. So you could kind of, oh, and also there's a certain Doctor Strange who was the leader at certain points of the Midnight Suns as well. So I definitely don't think it's the last we've seen of these characters. I think you could bring them back in that way somehow.
Oh, it's definitely not the last, but I don't think it's going to be like another season of Agatha all along. I do think like maybe the next time we'll see Billy is like Young Avengers, and just have Agatha floating behind him.
Do you reckon only he can see Agatha in these situations as well?
Not
I
sure.
think. Well, you're right because the other ghost, she was visible to everyone during the trial, right?
Hmm.
True.
But they were witches. They're all witches. I'm
They were
talking
all
regular
witches
people.
though. Yeah. So
I'm
maybe
talking to
she's
regular Joes.
not sure.
I
Maybe
don't
that
know.
would be up to Agatha. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that
Like,
makes
but
sense.
to be honest, like, if like the story like completely ended there, I would be happy as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
but
they told the story, didn't they? And they ended it in a way that where it could end.
but I want more Aubrey Plaza death. So
Yeah, I think
and
that's a certainty.
Yes, I agree. More
Are
Aubrey
we ever going to get
Plaza.
to a stage where we get Star Lord and Death in the same room?
Do they have a thing? Star-Lord
I
and
don't
Death?
think so. But
Oh, I get what you're saying.
hey, there
I
you
get what
go.
you're it
Jose
took
caught
me a
up.
second.
oh no,
Perhaps
I
they
Actually, it
could.
would be very
Perhaps they could meet at a
it,
Mouse Rat concert,
I mean, if we can get her to repeat her line from the Halloween episode, that'd be hilarious.
which was
it's
Like we're
really
throwing a pot.
funny because because like she's like with a knife the majority of like the show, and it's just like always reminded me like when April is asking Anne for like a vet recommendation and she holds up the giant needle and it's just like she's holding it the exact same way.
okay. Marie, what else do you have? We need before we move on. What are your
Oh, before we
final?
move on,
What are your
okay,
final
so
Your
Agatha?
thoughts?
Agatha, thoughts? Well, now because like I'm now that I've seen it twice, I've noticed like so many like different types of Easter eggs and clever writing. Rewatching the first episode was like really interesting, especially because when I first started it, I wasn't like because it's so the first episode is so confusing. And I was just like, did we start the right thing? Like, what did we click it? But there, even then, there's like so many references. The theme song for like the fake crime procedural that she's on is the first version of Nicholas's Witches Road because they say Windy Road instead of Witches Road in that theme
Oh,
song.
wow. You're right.
And it's like the first like few lines that Nicholas sings. But then in the next scene, Agatha is singing the actual Witches Road song. There's also like quite a lot of references to someone of their are they truly dead? Like she asks like, "Oh, is she really dead?" which is probably like references to Wanda. Like when she asks Rio like, "Is Wanda dead?" that Rio never
Yeah,
confirms it. She says that is the wrong question. What else did I notice? Oh, when she goes into Nicholas's room, the award in there is an award for best vocalist in a choir, which I thought was interesting, like an interesting
Huh.
link showing that he wrote the song. Um,
Huh.
so it's like those little details I find like so interesting with the set, and it's um I can go on. I noticed
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
shit like um and like when they're on the road, like watching Catherine's and then later on Aubrey's performance, like stuff that you could like think like, oh, Agatha's just acting selfish in this moment, or Agatha is like just like has an alternate agenda, but now her agenda like no, she's actually shocked to see the road actually because it's
Oh,
but
yeah.
like you could like read those facial expressions in a different way, but like when you see it in the context, you're like, oh yeah, she's like covering her ass here, like trying to like
Wow.
say like, oh yes, the road is it's real, like definitely. Um
That was interesting because at first I was like, is she being sarcastic? You
yeah.
know, I really picked it up on like, this doesn't seem genuine, but I didn't know why. So
Yeah,
yeah, that makes a lot more sense like that.
there is also the moment in episode 3 with the wine when she doesn't drink it, and they're like, "We all have to drink," and then she like says who says the ballot, and she's about to say something and like catches herself, and again, it's such a good detail. Because you think like, oh,
Hmm.
she was just gonna make some snarky comment, but she was about to say, "Well, I wrote the fucking ballot," like, or
I don't
the
think she would have said I wrote the fucking ballad in it. It's still PG-13.
or when they're like trying to figure out the lyrics where they were like Coven 2 or Coven True. And Agatha is like
Oh,
it's Coven 2, which makes sense because she wrote the song with the sun. They were a coven of two.
yeah.
But and everyone was just like, no, you're totally wrong and making fun of her. And it's like so
Wow.
I love tiny details like this, and I love like just the consistency of writing and like watching back the trials and like just seeing those little like references and little hints that not everything is quite right. Um
Did you
So
get to see Billy's room before the last episode? You know
we
when he
do,
when they
but you don't actually see it in that much detail as you see it, but you do
okay.
see like the figurines in the background and the leaves and stuff like that. One
Hmm.
thing that I thought was also interesting, like Billy's well, when he was William's bar mitzvah was in the similar aesthetic of The Witch's Road. It was like very blue and it had like little trees on all the little tables as well,
Oh wow. Okay.
which I thought was an interesting detail. But back to like Billy's room, what I thought was funny is just all the Easter eggs were hilarious. All the eggs in there were like cleverly placed, but at the same time, there's also just a proof that he's a teenage boy because there was a Buffy poster and an Evanescence poster. So it's just like, yes, this is a gothic teen kid.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the movie posters was a spoof on a real movie, but I couldn't
No, they
remember.
were real ones because if you remember the end credits, and every episode they had act. I mean, I was like, wait, that's literally a scene from the craft on the end credits. So they
Oh
they had the
wow.
rights to everything. So I'm pretty sure it was probably like a real poster in a real. I mean, I don't know,
Okay.
He
but
does
I'm
have
fairly
like
certain
quite a
everything
lot
was
of
real.
Houdini posters, and you're just like, how many Houdini posters does one kid have? And that was before he actually became Billy when he was still William. Like in
Hmm.
William's room, like I think I counted like three Houdini posters. I'm like, okay, we get it. He's a wizard.
He's a wizard, Harry.
He's a wizard, Harry. I'm gonna say there was one thing I wanted to add, but no, I forgot completely. Oh well. And it's gonna bother me when I figure it out, and then I can't add it to this episode.
But it won't matter, Jose, because I'd have cut this bit and you'll never know you didn't remember it. Now, the reason Jose laughs is because he knows that from Wayne's World, right?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Was it like? Is that just at the end when they're like, "Oh, this is what really
Well,
happened,"
Yeah, when they're doing
Marie,
the different
or
endings.
yes, Wayne's World, which is one of the greatest films of all time.
Oh,
it's more
agreed.
me just lifting up the Clue
And
movie?
everyone always forgets Wayne's World is directed by a woman in a time when it was really hard to be a female. Well, just you weren't even getting to direct
There've
films.
always been a hard time to be a female.
Penelope Spheris, who also then apparently had an argument with Mike Myers, and she didn't get to direct the sequel.
Oh,
I've never seen a sequel because I love the first one too so much.
Sequels is
it's
strong; it holds up
pretty good.
well. Was it really? Was it really? And as we always say, Jose, was it really necessary to see the Indian man's butt crack? Because it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, I'm
I don't
interested
remember
to
it, so
one.
I'm glad.
Anyway, I think that we're talking about Indian butt cracks. I think it's time to move on from Agatha all along to Nobody Wants This. Not a statement about us or this episode. No, it's a new hit show on Netflix. And it does seem a little while since they've had one, doesn't it? A genuine, oh, everyone's watching the show on Netflix. We should go and binge it as soon as possible. Well, despite the terrible title, this is a winning, if slightly conventional rom-com, taking place over 10 roughly half an hour episodes. The setup is that Adam Brody plays Noah Rockloff, a hot rabbi, if you will, who breaks up with his long-term Jewish girlfriend Rebecca, who always friends and family love, but at a friend's party he hits it off with Kristen Bell's sex podcaster Joanne. That's basically it with the show's premise, and the main conflict from the show comes from Joanne trying to win over Noah's friends and family who think she's a bad match, or the derogatory term a shiska, which is apparently what they wanted to call the show but weren't allowed to. There is
Ooh.
some one of my favourite bits in the show is the sparring you get between Joanne and his mum, Bina, when they first meet, and the whole eating the deli tray out of the trash scene. Oh, that's one of my favourite bits because when we see that it's actually because she's like, oh no, it's not kosher, chucks the whole platter that she brought to this lovely party in a bin, and then you go out to the kitchen. Joanne goes to the kitchen and she sees Noah's mum, Bina, eating the ham out of the trash. And then she realizes she can say anything and get away with anything if she just takes the blame when they walk in. So I love that, man. Like, as the show progresses, the only real obstacles that the show throws at them are two. There's two obstacles. That's it. That's all they have to really deal with. Is Rebecca secretly talking to Noah behind Joanne's back? And if they ever want a future, then Joanne will have to convert to Judaism. And that's basically the extent of any real issues in the show. So, first world problems. Look, we
Mhm.
know Belle and Brody are both excellent and their chemistry on screen is really good. And I do appreciate the show's attempts to not have the small standard sitcom misunderstandings grow into large issues that derailed it, that derail their relationship. It's all fairly low stakes within the grand scheme of things, I think. I will say my favourite characters, though, however, are the loser siblings. They even have their own private group chat, played by Jonah from Veep, Timothy Simons, who plays Sasha, Noah's older brother, and and pardon the Jewish joke, if you will, who begins an unorthodox friendship with Joanne's sister Morgan. Okay, no one even smiled at that. Like, an unorthodox Jew. Okay, was it just too clever? It was too clever. Okay, it's always
It was too clever.
too
It
clever.
was so high up, it went
Anyways,
over our
he
heads.
starts his friendship with Joanne's sister Morgan, played by the excellent Justine Lupe. And I was thinking, who is she? Why do I recognise her? She was in Succession, which I didn't watch, but she was also in the second series of the Big Door Prize, who she's introduced as a new character to tempt
Oh,
Rochelle Dowd's
okay.
character. And she was
Also,
excellent in
she's
that.
in The Marvelous Mrs.
I was
Maisel.
about to say she's also in the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is also an extremely Jewish show.
Ah,
Oh yeah,
And
you're
she
right.
plays
It is, isn't
someone
it?
who got converted to Judaism and then like takes it a little too
Oh.
seriously because because she really wants to fit into the family. So
Mm.
and it's really funny because those two characters are polar opposites from each other. So when I had that like light bulb moment, I was like, "Oh my God, it's the same actress." It was like mind-blowing.
Nice.
well, I really like. I think Sasha's one of the most interesting characters in the show, his brother, because he's
Definitely.
absolutely under his wife Esther's thumb. Like his daughter thinks he's a loser. His dad doesn't trust him with a bigger role in the family business. So he's got more going on in terms of arc over the course of the whole show than Noah has. Noah's just like, oh, I've met this really hot, attractive girl who's really into me and will do anything for me. Oh, also, I'm getting offered the top job. Oh, my life's so hard. Whereas fucking poor Sasha, he's got the kid, he's got his wife just giving him shoulder time, and obviously,
I mean,
when he,
you could tell they love each other. She's the one that wears the pants in the family.
yeah, well, and also, but when he first meets Morgan, she absolutely hates him. Yeah, as the season progresses, that's why I like. That's why I think he's the best, one of the best characters, because he goes and gets stoned when he thinks he's got the night to himself, and then he has to help his daughter out with this boy problem,
The
which he
boy issue.
absolutely, which
Yeah.
was hilarious. He then gets more responsibility from his dad, and his relationship with Morgan progresses to the point where they actually call themselves friends, although secret friends his wife doesn't know about. And of course they lay the groundwork for this as well, being when she tells Joanne at one point, "Oh, I had a sex dream about the loser brother."
So I gotta ask, since we're talking about the characters Sasha and Morgan,
Yeah,
who else thought they were gonna hook up? Because
I feel it's too
I was
obvious.
like,
I feel like
it
it's
is
too
obvious,
obvious.
but people have done it. Characters have done it, and I was just like, he seems like a good guy,
Yeah.
but I'm just like,
I don't think it's that
they're
kind of show,
really.
though, is it? It's a
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
it
too.
though?
It's too of a warm and fuzzy show. Like,
True, it is.
I mean,
like
like I I do find it funny, Neil, that you said low stakes, and the way I view it was unproblematic. Because for once there was actually a depiction of what a healthy relationship looks like, and I think that should be celebrated. Like how couples do need to communicate, and that's why there's not that
yeah.
misunderstanding.
Well, like the
Um,
drawer when he finds the drawer when she
yeah.
finds the drawer with the box, and that would be drawn out over how many episodes in the standard and she's like, nope, we're going to talk about it, we're going to deal with it, and they talk about it and deal with it, and I was like, great, and it's not this big thing hanging over them. So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly what you said. It's they deal with it in a mature. Although she kind of quantifies her I'm being mature and adult about it by saying she's being mature and adult about it when she's freaking out about all these little things as well.
Someone pointed out that Kristen Bell seems the one that seems to have all the problems, and Adam Brody is too perfect in this
Uh,
role. Is that, do you think that's accurate? Even though there's like one episode where he's at the camp and he's trying to avoid being seen with her, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's
hmm
one episode and it's a small kind of awkwardness, but he kind of gets over it. Or does he? I guess it doesn't get over it until the last episode. So is it, do you think, a fair assessment of the relationship, or do you think they are more balanced in their issues?
No, I think it's
No.
balanced way, way in his favor over hers. Because if you look at it, she's literally having to do like over the whole series. He has one episode where he meets her friends and they all love him, and that's it. Whereas she's trying to win over his whole family. She's having to think about converting to Judaism. She's having to do all this stuff. So it's really imbalanced to me. Really imbalanced.
Okay.
Marie, what do you think?
Right?
Yeah, I mean, the story is from her perspective, so it's so I think that's why I spend more time with her. And yeah, I mean, I think it is meant like from the beginning, like she is like the hot mess and he's the more put together guy, and that's why dating this guy is so out of character for her, because hot messes attract other hot messes. I'm speaking from experience here. But so, and I think, but he never actually, like, in a way flaunts his privilege over her. I think it's also like a more, in a way, nature versus nurture, because he has a quite stable home life, other than the fact that his family like really likes his ex-girlfriend. But I think that doesn't surprise him. But other than that, and his mother's a little over controlling, but compared to like the how batshit crazy her mom is, and the whole situation with her dad,
Oh,
and
Oh, yeah, dads.
her dad's gay and her mom is still in love with her dad,
Oh
which
yeah.
so
is a quite a common sitcom trope, to be honest. But
so you had a tiny bit. So the show's got a tiny bit of gayness in it, at least.
Not
no,
enough.
no.
Not enough.
This show is so straight. It is so
And
straight. This is like when I mean like when I always say like a show is gay, like it gay or not gay, it doesn't mean like it like needs to have like, it doesn't even like talk to the fact that they have like queer characters in it. This one is like, yeah, I mean the queer characters here are very like seen through a heteronormative lens, and they're like very in the
Yeah.
background, and in a way it's almost like part of the punchline. Like, for example, her saying I was a lesbian for a year, like that is the one joke that I like was just like, seriously, we're doing those kind of jokes still in 2024. I do like that when that joke got repeated, and like her friend who is queer, but you never we spent much time
I
with
was about to
her.
say, yeah.
Her like does like a face where, and I was just like, okay, at least like the one queer character
It's
acknowledges the
acknowledging the bad
Acknowledges,
joke.
yeah.
problematicness of that statement. But like Neil didn't even pick up on the fact that she was queer, so it's yeah.
I mean, to be fair,
I
her friends you barely picked up on at all, really, because they weren't really in it much. Bar one,
No, they're not. Um, like I
I
mean,
was
it's a very
expecting more because
compact show. I mean,
yes,
I mean, it's all just down
very
to the two of them,
streamlined.
really. It's like
yeah,
you've essentially got your two couples, haven't you? You've got the
I
brother.
mean, her friends are fairly very good actors, honestly. I was
yeah,
surprised they didn't use it more. Because
Isn't Darcy
what's the
Carden
one?
in it? Janet from The Good Place.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's
When I
it.
saw her, I was like, oh, they're gonna expand on the friend group,
I never
and
do.
nope.
Like she's been in so many things since The
Yeah,
Good Place, and she doesn't have anything to do.
such a great
She was in
actress.
Barry, and I was like, oh, she's going to be have a load to do,
Yeah,
and she had next to
yeah.
nothing to do in it,
League of Their Own. You know,
right?
eh, you
Oh,
know.
League of Their
So
Own.
Going back to, I gotta admit, the dad though, yeah, they did play. It felt like '90s stereotypes kind of characters.
I don't think they
It
were in it
didn't.
enough to really make that impression on me. I didn't like.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I was
I
just
do
like,
agree with
this
Jose
really
on this
seems
one.
really cheesy. Like they just kind of played it up, and like, granted, yeah, oh, he's learning to be gay, but I've seen it done so much better in movies.
Next question is, where do we think season two, which has been confirmed, is going to go to? So for me, I don't think they can keep dragging out the conversion storyline. And I think the final scene of Noah chasing after Joanne, they're heavily implying that he's going to be willing to throw away his dream job as a head rabbi so that he can be with Joanne. So I'm going to take a guess and say, and that would kind of tie in with, well, look, season one was all weighted with her doing everything for him. Perhaps season two is going to go the other way, and it's him trying to change and do what he can to be with her. And then I think that leads us to somewhere where, because that's one of my problems with the show. It's like it's not like a be all and end all. You don't actually have to do this, right? It's the modern in the modern day, and it's set in the modern day. You shouldn't have to
Mhm.
actually just no, I can't do that because you absolutely could do that. I imagine. I imagine that season two will start a few months down the line where everything seems fine in their new life, but then eventually the same question is going to be posed. Whereas in season one it was Joanne doing everything for Noah. I think it's going to be a bit round the other way in season two, and she's going to realize he's not happy trying to make this work the same way, and she'll say to him, "No, look, you need to go back to it." So I think it'll kind of it's so formulaic in the way it's done. I feel like that's the only really way you can go for season two. They just kind of flip it, and then they still have the same issues to deal with, just from the other point of view.
It's definitely going to flip more on Adam Brody's side, and he's going to stumble through more. But I do think that he gets the job. She decides to. I think she decides to step up and convert, and then we do see her kind of like fumbling while trying, but she means well, and him just not dealing with that. I think that might be the what happens there. because I mean, it seemed like maybe she doesn't convert right away, and maybe we don't see like maybe we do get a time gap. But I think if we start right away, she won't convert right away, for sure.
Depends how
But I
many
think
seasons they want to milk out of it, then maybe.
true. But I feel like there will be a point where if she does convert, that's going to be a heavy part of the storyline. Her just trying to learn everything, because I mean, this seems like they were really heavy on the knowledge of Judaism and I mean, I learned more about Jewish people in this show than I've ever known in my
Right.
entire life. So I feel like I think that's a good thing though. I think that's a very positive message
It's
in
like
this
if you ever want to learn about the
show.
troubles in Northern Ireland, watch Derry Girls because you learn more from Derry Girls than you ever did in,
Good point.
especially going to school in England. Like they didn't teach us about that. Wait,
Oh
when we
yeah.
did all that bad stuff? No, that's not in our history books.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that if
Wasn't
anything,
mine.
I think this show, what it does is it allows us to look into Jewish people more interestingly and more candidly in a way, even though it's set in a romantic comedy with a few negative characters. But I mean, it's more set up as this is a matter of fact, not like, oh, let's make fun of it, kind of situation.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's almost like a recruiting ad to be Jewish in some ways. Let's be
Recruiting ad.
honest. So Marie, what do you think is going to happen with Noah and Joanne in season two?
I mean, yeah, I don't think he's gonna give up his dream job because, as I said, one thing that I appreciate about this, about their relationship, that it's largely like unproblematic. And yes, relationships require compromise and some sacrifices, but giving up something you worked for your entire life for someone you've just known for like a couple of weeks, that is not a healthy decision. Do
Now
not do
we
that.
just needed a character to say exactly what you just said in the show, didn't we?
But like on the other side, like her converting, like that, like even the way he talks about it, he's like that takes time and stuff like that. And like it's like funny because like I mean him asking her to convert was, I think, like, I mean, I can see his reasoning, but like it was still like a bit out of the blue. He did try to like introduce her into their traditions, but it's like even his family didn't know what these traditions were. So like he was
Yeah,
like
so it shows
almost
it's
like,
not as hard and fast to write on the rules, doesn't it? There's a lot of
yeah,
wiggle
but he
room.
was like
So
almost like, yeah, the rose-colored glasses, but I think it's like it's more like about going like to the temple or fasting or doing like those. I think like if you I think maybe the next season might be her engaging more actively with the faith because she wasn't completely against it. I think she just got completely overwhelmed about like learning
Yeah.
Hebrew, doing all
and,
the studies, and also like she was doing it for all the wrong reasons. She was
and that's what
just,
he says to her. You need to be
yeah.
doing this for yourself, not just for me.
But if it was her coming to this conclusion on her own, like actually finding
Hmm.
faith and purpose within this religion, I think that would work. But yeah, we'll see. I
I reckon
think
you could be right on that though, only because I believe, and I could be wrong on this because I haven't Googled it, I read it like a little while ago. The writer of the show converted when she married someone.
see that would
Oh,
make sense, that
okay.
that would be like her journey.
Yeah,
And
Mhm.
I think
converting
that's
at the end of
true.
season one
Yeah.
would be crazy because they literally only had known each other for a couple of weeks. But like
So she's obviously got
easing
the
yourself in.
experience to write about it. So yeah, so that could be, I think, what you guys have both described for season two. But let's talk about my favorite couple in the show, who aren't a couple, but they're my favorite characters, Morgan and Sasha. Where does their storyline go in season two? Because Sasha has generally been a really stand-up guy all season. He's been a great friend. He's been a great dad. He does exactly what his wife tells him to. But Morgan also clearly fancies him now. And we also like,
Does
well,
she?
she had a sex dream about him.
That does not mean
Sad.
fancy. I'm sorry. Girl
No, it
talk.
doesn't.
And so, but as we said earlier, and we posited then, so do we think they're going to have an affair? I'm saying no, because that's too basic and obvious. I think it's going to
Mhm.
be more along the lines of Esther is absolutely going to lose her shit over the private chat there and
Mhm.
think they're having an affair and like ban him from seeing her, which is going to make things awkward. I think she will go really over the deep end on it. And, it'll be someone like, well, you're not allowed to be friends with her anymore. You're not allowed to see her and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to resolve it. The other thing I wouldn't mind seeing, but I think it's a bit too out there for this show. I'd like to see Rebecca, his ex, go full psycho in her pursuit of Noah, but I just don't think it's that kind of show.
Mm,
I mean,
no, I don't see
she
it.
lied Like there was a hospital thing, which oh yeah, it was just like a sprain or something,
Well,
and
she
it
didn't
was
lie. It was her family.
the family. Sorry, yeah, made it into the big thing. But then when she bullshitted Morgan, I thought that was really good.
I mean, to be
Yeah,
honest,
that
I would
Not
have done
good,
the
but
same if I was in her position. Like if
right.
like I recognized the person and then they started pretending to be someone else. Also, do not talk to me while I'm in public. Like I do not appreciate that. So I would completely fuck with someone if they tried to do that. Um, but yeah, yeah, I don't think they're gonna get like a fair storyline. Also, I one thing it's a pet peeve of mine, and it's the whole like Harry met Sally situation. Guys and girls cannot be friends because the sex always gets in the way. I think that is, of course, complete bullshit.
yeah.
And but there is such a lack of platonic male and female friendships in media to the point that it also like has become such a pet peeve of mine. So I really like would like them to have like a pretty good platonic relationship, and her like being friends with a decent guy, realizing like, oh, what do I want in a relationship, and
Yeah, that
actually
could be the
finding a
way.
decent guy through that,
Hmm.
and him maybe helping her with that, and actually making her realize that she deserves someone who's good and kind to her instead of like a string of one night stands.
So, Maria,
Yeah.
when are you going to join the writing staff of the second series?
I actually,
I
yeah, I
mean, I'm
think you guys are
currently
right.
unemployed, so
Hey, I do like the idea of Morgan and Sasha staying platonic because, like, yeah, I mean, I was foolishly thinking, oh, this seems a little shady, but to your point, I think it would be great for them to just stay friends and pull a Pacific Rim where there is no romantic situation at the end of the movie. Sorry,
Pacific Rim.
that was a deep cut. That was a deep cut. You know, at the end of the movie, the Asian girl and Charlie Hunnam don't hook up.
Because they,
They just stand there.
because they had to deal with giant Jaegers and kaiju, man.
Exactly. And it would have been ridiculous if they kissed at the end. Nobody wanted that.
Like in Twisters.
Hey, spoiler alert. No, trust me, I knew that one.
Everyone knew that
But
one,
yeah,
even if they hadn't seen the film, man.
that
right.
is also a
I
pet peeve of mine. Like romance that's not necessary in action
And
movies.
apparently,
hmm
Steven Spielberg told him to cut it. So that Spielberg kid,
Hey,
he knows a thing or two about films, doesn't he?
yeah, he does.
You know, when we were just saying about shows where male and female characters can't have a platonic friendship, Jose, what show did we talk about last year?
I forget. You
It's
have to...
literally called Platonic on Apple.
Platonic. Yes,
Seth
that was a
Rogen and Rose
great
Byrne.
show.
Brilliant show. About two best
Yes.
mates who kind of, when they're younger,
They just have awkward and crazy times together, but they're just platonically friends. And
and then she's got like the super nice husband and the kids and all that, and you're like, it is
yes,
some.
I
And remember when we was watching that show, me and Jose the whole way through, we were like, the husband's too nice. He's going to do something wrong. He's got to. There's no way.
yeah,
And
yeah. And
no,
then he does kind of do something wrong.
not.
Yeah. It's definitely something kind of wrong. Not as bad as it could be. Maria, I'm sorry. We're trying to keep it. I think it's a good show that you should probably
Yeah,
watch.
actually, in terms of like the platonic man, and also Seth
Hmm.
Rogen and Rose
Yep.
Byrne together are brilliant. Anyway,
Oh,
if you like
Rose Byrne
Neighbours,
is a big
Yeah,
fan.
once again,
Yeah.
because it's on Apple TV, it's like in the void to me. Like I,
Oh
as I say, I keep
no.
forgetting that that
literally,
streaming
Apple
service
TV
exists.
is the Rose Byrne channel. She's got two shows on there. She's got Physical as well,
Yeah.
where she plays like an 80s fitness enthusiast, and she's brilliant in that.
Yeah.
It's really, she's like a binge eater, and then also it's like it's a great show. Okay, I think sorry, I was saying last thoughts on Nobody Wants This.
I think it was a really well done show. Small 30-minute episodes and easy to digest, and that's hence the reason I watched it all in
Jose,
one sitting.
I feel like you're describing having a sandwich.
I mean,
Is it a gas service station, or is it a Subway, or is it a fine
oh,
deli?
if you live in the southeast of the United States, I'm going to reference Publix. Great subs.
I've been to
And
Publix, Jose. I remember.
yes, great subs. You know it's great. It's nothing crazy, but just a solid find.
And this has
I did my
been Neil and
best.
Jose's sandwich review.
There we go.
Next up, and finally today on the Weenie Rose podcast, we are going to be talking, well, it's the last dance. Not of the podcast, but of Venom and Tom Hardy. Now, does anyone remember the first Venom film getting absolutely eviscerated in the reviews, but also making a shit ton of money? And I remember Tom Hardy at the time being really negative about it in the press afterwards and just absolutely like slating it. And then it makes close to, what was it, like 600-700 million quid? It made a lot of money, despite being not very good, if I'm honest. They repeated the same trick for Venom 2, which you had Woody. I was like, oh, Woody Harrelson, Stephen Graham, and Tom Hardy together. This is going to be awesome. And it was fine again. And with the laws of diminishing returns, we have Venom 3, The Last Dance. So, first of all, before we get into 3, Marie, were you a fan of the first two films?
I mean, yes, I wasn't like, oh my God, these are the greatest movies of all time, but I think they're like decent, like Saturday, like Friday night, want to put on a movie, have some popcorn. I actually really did enjoy Venom 2. I thought it was a perfect breakup movie. But I realized that I was in the minority there. After talking about Venom 3, I learned that there's quite a lot of hate geared towards Venom 2. I don't understand that. The thing is, I never go into these movies expecting a masterpiece. I expect like to be transported back into the early 2000s where we literally had to just like cling to anything superhero
I suppose
related,
yes.
like remotely superhero related that we got. So that's what Venom for me is. That's like it's bringing me back to time where superhero movies were only okay but a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally my next note is it feels like something from the early 2000s, the first one, in terms of, I mean, how you underuse, well, all the female characters in any of the Venom films, but in the first one, you underuse Michelle Williams, who was literally like on a run of Oscar form there, right? You know, who's actually done,
Right.
was it Blue Valentine, Blue Jasmine? I forget the name of the film. It had a blue in the title when she, and also Manchester by the Sea, you know, she was on that form, and then she does Venom, 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 Venom. And so yeah. And
All
I
right,
mean,
Eminem.
what about you, Jose? What did you think of the first two? Did you were you a fan or they were just
Um,
fine?
the first one I thought was fine, and the second one actually made me upset
Sad
because
upset
I
or
was
angry upset?
angry upset. Because watching the first one, I'm like, okay, bar is set low, and then the second one, I
It's
was just
like
like,
there is no
what is
bar.
this?
You're on the floor,
What is this? I mean, visually great. You know, Woody Harrelson. Come on, you can't complain about that.
right?
But the writing, like, where is this going? Like you could see the bones of the whole thing was okay. I see what they were going for, but I just didn't agree with the execution. I'm not saying it's a horrible movie. I'm just saying I did not like it.
Sadly, all three Venom films, right, have been written by the same person, Kelly
I
Marcel,
can see, I can see
and
that.
she got to actually direct the third one.
Oh, okay.
But no, I'm going to be a little bit fairer on
Mm,
her when I get to the directing because I think it is her first film. So let's talk Venom 3. Plot wise, and this is a very brief run through the plot, there is a baddie who created the symbionts called Null, who apparently is a big fucking deal in the comics that I didn't know anything about. And he is trapped in an intergalactic prison of some kind, but he has a legion of CGI dogs that he's going to send off to kill Eddie or Venom. This is where it gets a bit Transformers-y, because if he kills Eddie or Venom, he can retrieve the Codex.
oh my goodness, what?
That will free him, but he's also been imprisoned by the symbiotes who he created, but he wants to kill them all. Still with me, Jose?
Trying. I'm trying.
Okay, so that's basically the story. So basically, all these CGI dogs have been sent down to Earth to kill Eddie or Venom. It doesn't matter which one of them, just one of them. And then it will
Just one of
reveal
them?
just one of them. Yeah, that's like the whole duality thing. Like that, like, and
Oh, okay.
if and that's what they find out as the film goes on. That if he goes full Venom at any point, the Codex will activate in his back, and they'll be able to track him instantly. So you would think for this point, okay, we're not going to see full Venom for a large amount of the movie. Except
Mm.
they pretty much do it every other scene, and he's like kind of half Venom, and he's not Venom, and they set up this rule, and they just absolutely don't follow it at all at any point. Um,
Wow.
the single biggest, what the fuck are you doing with that moment was when they go to Vegas for an impromptu dance sequence with Mrs. Chow, and he goes full Venom, and yes, it's funny, they're dancing to ABBA, it's hilarious,
Oh my
but he
goodness.
turns into full Venom after literally spending all these earlier scenes going, you can't go full Venom, otherwise they can track you and find you instantly, which of course they then do. It's almost like they thought, it's almost like they had the scene going, right, we've got the Abaddon scene, tick. Right, how do we get there? Oh, fuck it, doesn't matter. But it has to be full Venom for the dancing. I can just see some like script editor or like editor sitting there going, but we can't have him go full Venom here because they will find him. You literally set it up in the previous scenes. No, he's got to be full Venom. Okay, studio exec, here's some more cocaine. It's like one of those ones. Here are my kind of rambling thoughts as well. I've kind of like wrote down straight after I saw it. First of all, football is life. We get Danny Rogers from Ted Lasso in it.
Neil, hold on. I gotta stop you. What Daniel what?
Rojas?
Okay, you said Daniel Rojas. So you hurt my feelings as a Hispanic man. Danny
Did you
Rojas.
see Rojas? Red. Yeah, see.
Okay, okay.
I pulled it back a little bit there from offending the Hispanic listeners. Um,
Go on, go on.
but so if you remember at the end of the last Venom, he gets zapped into the other. No, it was at the end of Spider-Man, wasn't it?
Uh-huh. Well,
No,
he
well, it was
leaves
the
and then
end.
comes
No, it
back.
was the end credit scene of Venom 2 that he gets zapped into the MCU, and
Right.
then the ending of Spider-Man.
We see him
Uh,
briefly in the
he
No,
same
we
gets
part,
don't.
is
zapped
it?
back.
He gets zapped back. Yeah. So in this one, Jose, he gets zapped back to the same bar with Danny Rojas, and they just fuck off all the multiverse stuff with one line in the opening. Yeah.
Really?
Like
Okay, now you
it,
just gotta tell me.
no, it's literally one line. I can't even remember the line. It's just not that memorable. He's just like, well, yes, we're like I'm pretty sure like Venom Rich goes, wow, we're done with all that multiverse shit or something. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like, but for me, right,
Great.
one of my biggest bugbear with this whole film is it is a criminal waste of Stephen Graham, who is one of the best British working actors today, who you literally set up as a baddie, potential baddie in the last film, and you give him one scene. And he's great in
That's
that
it?
scene. That's Stephen Graham. He's
Oh
awesome.
man.
He's been in so many things. And then you've got Juno Temple, who, again, most people in the States know only from Ted Lasso, but also Fargo, this year's series of Fargo, which was like a super violent version of Home Alone. And she was so good in it. And
Oh
she was the
really?
lead actress in it. Here, she is Science Girl with tragic backstory. I couldn't even tell you her character's name because she doesn't have one. She is just Science Girl. And she has a friend who is also a Science Girl who is obsessed with Christmas in another character trait that goes nowhere. Honestly, you could have combined them into one character and they still wouldn't have had a name that is memorable in this whole film. You've kind of got all the army stuff going on. There's a complete waste of Sheffield Ejiofor, the guy who played the baddie in Firefly, in Serenity. He's in it, playing an army dude. Again, couldn't tell you his name because he barely gets mentioned. The only other characters that make any impression in this film at all are a family on the way to Area 51 who are alien hunters, and I enjoyed them a lot. But then the dad threw me off because I was like, "What? Who's that actor?" And breaking all the rules of the MCU, it's Rhys Evans. So you've got Lizard, Dr. Kirk Connors playing someone else in a Venom film. You were
Wow.
literally in a Spider-Man film, and now you're in a Venom film, but you're not playing the same character. And you were actually in
Well,
Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, what are you doing? I mean, he's good in it, but still, cast someone else, right?
well, I mean, you forgot Chihuahua Ejiofor was in the original Doctor Strange. So again,
Oh,
MCU crossover.
mate, he has so little to do in this that I'd be onto my agent and going, so Mordo's coming back when, please? So my last little bit here is that I would have liked more if it had just been a straight road movie with Eddie and Venom and just go full Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in it. Like, don't take out, but I think that's what they wanted to do. But then I feel like the studio were like, no, there needs to be big explosion scenes, aliens from another world, a big baddie. It's almost like the films they're taking the piss out of in the show, the franchise. It's almost what it feels like at points. And yet the problem is I loved everything that Tom Hardy does and with Venom. Like he's every film in this series for me is Tom Hardy battling a crap script and a crap direction. And just in this, you're just watching him going, I see what you're doing, Tom Hardy, and I just wish you were working with a studio and filmmakers who had the same level of vision as what you've tried to do with a character. Marie, what did you think of Venom 3?
Well, I mean, I think we've discussed this. I think I enjoyed this movie way more than you did.
I mean, I didn't hate
I
it. I
Yeah,
thought it was painfully average.
yeah. I just went in like expecting to have a good time. Like, got a massive bucket of popcorn and a Pepsi, and just sat back. I did like think, oh shit, we're off to a rough start when the whole like the intro was narration and it started off with Null. That was just yeah, it wasn't
Dull more like it.
necessary. It
I'm going
wasn't
to call him
like
dull.
And as I spoken before, I don't like narration as a device for storytelling. And also backstory. Like, we're just gonna drop some backstory here. This is where the Venom thingamabobs came from, and they overthrew. Like, yeah, no, I don't
Yeah,
Oh
care about
man.
that.
it was bad.
That. But then when we like get back to Venom, when we get back to the happy couple in Mexico, it was like it did like pick up a bit. Like, I like the sequence of the bar of Venom making a Bloody Mary. It was completely ridiculous, but it was fun. And then Venom saying that he's hungry, so Eddie needs to go find food. And then the entire like the first fight scene in um in the dog fighting arena was actually
Ooh.
really fun. Like, I
Yeah.
really, really did like that fight scene. There was like actually a very cool moment where like Venom like pushes Eddie outside of his body so he could reach like people from the across the room. That was like a very cool effect. There was
Ooh.
a very cool
Thinking back on
moment
it,
in
that is
sorry?
the best fight. Thinking back on it, that is the best edited and choreographed fight scene in the whole film.
Yeah. It started off really strong, and then there was like a funny bit with Crocs, which then led to a weird almost subplot of the movie, which I mean, like, it's kind of the rule of comedy. Like, you only do it 3 times. After that, it becomes redundant. But it did make me question, if does the writer of this movie have a foot fetish, because it became like a running gag that Eddie always loses his shoes, to the point that I think they did it like 5 times.
Oh my God,
Like,
really?
it was funny with the
Oh,
first time because it was Crocs and it was with a dog, and then he trades them off with cowboy boots, but then he loses those. Like, Eddie is barefoot for like the majority of this
You just went
movie, and it's
Canadian.
and yeah, it's just so that was like a weird subplot.
At the
It's
fifth time, I was like, directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, like that was like weird.
did they
I
show
do
his
agree
toes a
from you.
lot or
Like,
something?
everything that was going on at Area 51 was like redundant. Redundant. I don't like we didn't understand, because we all knew that this was gonna be the last movie, so it's almost pointless introducing new characters because they're not gonna go
Yeah.
anywhere. So it's like pointless. You're not gonna care about it. It did have some like funny laugh out lines. I mean, this is a very generic moment, but like Eddie screaming, "Oh, this is the worst hangover ever!" I got like a lot of laughs in the cinema that I was in.
The bit with
And
them singing in the fan with a family, that got a big laugh in the cinema.
Oh, that was brilliant. The spontaneous karaoke moment. Like, it was just really good. Like, him being really uncomfortable and Venom properly into it. And
Venom karaoke, mate. Yeah, it was
Venom
brilliant. That was
karaoke.
really fun.
Everyone loves a bit of David Bowie. It was
Oh, okay.
brilliant. The Space
Starman?
Oddity scene, and
Yeah.
I laughed the entire sequence of that. But then, yeah, every time it
Nice.
cut back to the Area 51 and what was going on there, that it just completely slowed down the plot.
They were wasting two great British talents, is what they were doing in Area
Yeah,
51.
that was unnecessary. When they got to Vegas, it was like funny, but they were there for a really short time. I have to say, I think my favorite line of the movie was Eddie go when he meets Mrs. Chen, and she's just like, they gave me this massive suite. I'm wearing this really expensive dress because I've been winning so big. And then Eddie goes, I stole the suit of a guy who pissed on me, and then I punched him. And it's just the way it was delivered. I genuinely got like a genuine laugh out of me. I thought it was actually really good. So that's like, I think, the frustrating thing about this movie. It actually had some like pretty good moments in it,
Hmm.
and it just maybe
Oh my
needed
goodness.
like one more like I think like all of the Venom movies, just like someone else looking over the script and going, cut
Just gotta
that.
polish it.
Yeah, just polish it.
It needed to almost be a Deadpool Wolverine style thing, but just
Yeah.
Eddie and Venom. That's
Yeah,
what it
because
Oh
it's
needed.
their
wow.
last hurrah. Like they like so yeah, I think and no subplots. I mean, the subplots all did kind of come together at Area 51. I got really annoyed as well when they introduced the family on their on their alien adventure. So I was just like, oh, not another subplot. But actually, that
They
they
were
turned
quite
out to
funny.
be quite funny. And
Yeah.
then they actually interacted with Eddie, and then the final battle did take place on Area 51. I did like all the symbiotes coming out, and that was, I think, a really fun fight sequence. Um,
But again, it was at night and it was dark and you couldn't really see what was going on.
oh, you could see in my cinema.
I mean, no, just in general. I always feel like when you haven't got the budget, you shoot at night and dark so you can hide it in the edit. And that's
Yeah,
from an editing point of view. I was just watching it going, yeah, it's just one of these CGI boom, boom, boom. I can't really tell what's going on, and I don't care what's going on fight scene, sadly.
but it
Unlike
did.
the first one.
Yeah, but it did also again have some fun moments. I mean, I again laughed out loud when Rhys Ivan's character like bazookaed that one alien, and then when he like realized what he did, like just like dropped it and like casually walked away. That was again a funny moment. I also like the arc that that family goes through because he's all like about aliens and aliens are real, and then when he finally discovers that aliens are real, he goes, "Aliens fucking suck." Again, that was a funny line. So
I think I've laughed more at our retelling of it than actually watching it. And I think that's what frustrates me with a film like this is that because you've got all the it's all on Tom Hardy's performance, right? You've got it there. Like you said, he is hilarious in it, and it really needs to be that odd man, that odd couple kind of thing, like Deadpool and Wolverine did. But it doesn't necessarily need in this one a big world-ending baddie to
no.
who we've never seen before. Oh no, I didn't realize. I checked the name in the credits. Noel or Dole, as I'm going to call him, is voiced by Andy Serkis because
Yeah.
Andy Serkis
Oh,
directed the
wow.
second one. He directed Let There Be
Oh,
Carnage. But
wow.
see, my
I think, but you can't fault Venom for it. That is like a lot of mistakes that
hmm,
superhero movies do, where they make the threat way too big and like bigger than
Hmm.
the actual
Yeah.
character could handle. And it
hmm.
shouldn't be this. They shouldn't have done the whole null
Venom
thing.
3
It.
should have been more like Paul. Just Eddie going, trying to get
Um,
back with. Imagine if that was the whole film, was just him after the plane bit, just trying to get back somewhere with no shoes.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I did kind of miss that it wasn't in San Francisco. I did miss the city element a bit, because I think that, of course, leads to some interesting sequences. So I didn't really like the setting that much either.
so as someone who hasn't seen this one, and I've seen the first two, do you think I should just follow through and
Yeah,
complete the
yeah,
series?
I do.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like. I mean, we did tell you all the best parts of the movie right now, so you're only
But
gonna
at
go
least
and
I
see all
know.
like
There are some
won't be
good
spoiled for the
parts of the
bad
movie.
parts.
I think I gave
Okay.
this. I think I gave this 3 stars, thought about it, and then moved it down to 2.5 stars. But that's
See,
out of
Oh,
five.
okay.
Out of five, though. So
I would give it 3.5 out of 5.
Oh,
Like,
okay. So
oh,
here's another
just
question
put
then.
yourself in that early 2000 mindset where you're
I
just
was there in the early
grateful.
2000s. Yeah. We had
Should I
Spider-Man. That
also
was it.
should I have a couple drinks to enjoy this more?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
There we go. Enough said. We should factor that
Jose's going to
into
give it
movie
5 stars
reviews.
and not remember any lines from it.
I'm like, this is great. This is
The
awesome.
bit with the
Yeah.
horse and the
I remember watching Malibu's Most Wanted really drunk and loving it and then coming back and I'm like, it's fine.
Do you know one of the best drunk films me and my friends ever watched when we was a kid, and we've got onto this now, but we'll make it brief. Uh, Scary Movie 2, Drunk,
Oh yeah,
was
that's
one of
perfect.
the bit to this day. Whenever I see Chris Elliott from Schitt's Creek, all I can imagine is him when he's got the little hand. It's like, take my hand, child. You'll die if you don't take my hand. And for literally as many years as I've known my friends, if one of us says that line, we cannot keep a straight face. It's like we have the line from Wayne's World. If someone was acting like a bit of a psycho when we were out, like, say you were at a bar and some girl was like being an absolute head case, and you're like, I want to get away from this person because they are scary and disturbing. You couldn't say she's a psycho host beast. So my friend would literally just walk up, or we'd walk up and we'd go, a gun rack. Look at her. Look back. And go, I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns, necessitate a whole rack. And he'd be like, right. And then we'd walk off. That quote has been used
That's
so many
great.
times in my life. So many
That's
times.
great.
So I'd like to thank my 2 co-hosts today. Firstly, in Florida, Jose. Jose, where can people find you on the socials?
If you want to see my portrait work, go on Instagram to at Jose Lopez Photos. If you want to see my wedding work, this is hilarious. If you're watching this, Neil's just itching to respond. But go to www jlopezphotos.com. And Neil,
Are there any pictures of Jennifer Lopez on that website, Jose?
no photos and not even of her weddings.
What about our upcoming third wedding to Ben Affleck again?
That's been called off. They've broken up, haven't they?
Again, no, if they're already married, this will be the next one when they get back together again.
Ah, I see. You know what?
Put your
At
name
this
down
point
for
I'm
it.
not
You could be
sure.
there.
I'll be there as an advisor.
And I'd like to thank Marie. And what are you doing now? You don't have gay witches to watch on a weekly basis.
It truly is a tragedy. So, well, you can find me on Life on Mars. That is my handle on the interwebs, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And if you want to join my coven, you can find me at the Two Girls, One Reusable Cup podcast, where we walk the richest road to stop climate change, which I think might be as futile as bringing back Tommy, but join and find out.
Could be worse. You could be a Ralph Boner. And you can find me at Needy Road on Twitter, where I'm active pretty much daily. Also, David runs our Insta at We Needy Road occasionally. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major podcast platforms. So give us a subscribe and follow there. And of course, we are on YouTube now. And hopefully you've been watching us as well. And you can see how tired we are, because this episode is at the end of a long day with many episodes. Words don't make sense anymore. We are very, very tired. Sleep now, sleep forever. And as the kids say, give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Don't sleep forever. Oh my goodness.
We Needed Road.